All right, welcome. Going to give Zoom a moment here to let people in. All right, welcome. Zoom is letting people in. Alexa, are people able to type in the chat? Anything like
Yes,
that?
they should be able to use the chat and there's a Q&A box.
Cool. So if you can hear the sound of my voice, you can type in where you're listening in from. That'll let us know audio is coming through clear. All right, welcome Katie from Glasgow, James from Washington State, Maxine from Oklahoma. Okay, a lot of people coming in here. Awesome, perfect. All right, welcome to each of you. We'll give it just another minute for Zoom to catch up here, and then we'll kick it off. And then Alexa, do you have slides or anything, or will that come up later?
I do. Yep, I'll pull those up after we're all done getting settled.
All right, cool.
All over the place. You have a good contingent of fans in the UK, huh? And Europe.
Yeah, all over the place. Appreciate each of you showing up here today, investing your time in this, especially because I know it's probably hours all over the world, the different hours you're coming in. So appreciate it. All right, cool. I think we're pretty well caught up. I mean, I'm sure some more people are going to start trickling in here. But Alexa, if you're ready, I'll start an introduction and then pass it off to you.
Let's do this.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for this. I've been on this training here before. Some of you, this might be either a refresher or you've seen it before. This is a big topic, and that is book launches. And Alexa covers some things that, there's some principles that I hear different people talk about. And then, Alexa, you cover some things that I really don't hear other people either addressing or going into the detail that you go into. So you lay out a really good strategy for people. And for those who don't know, Alexa is a USA Today best-selling author, founder, and CEO of Write, Publish, Sell. That's a company dedicated to helping authors professionally self-publish and market their books. Her courses and training focus on author platform growth and creative ways to market books, especially for those who know nothing about marketing. So if you're not super experienced with marketing, or maybe marketing isn't your favorite thing in the world, you want to discover ways that work with you and your personality, can even have fun with it, then you're in the right spot. And Alexa is also the founder and host of Women in Publishing Summit and owns two hybrid publishing houses, Cat Piggy Press and Purple Butterfly Press. So we're going to be talking today, not just about, if you want to launch a book, it's also really strategies that are just going to help you sell more books in general. So if your goal is to sell more books, get your books in the hands of more readers, then this is for you. So with that, Alexa, I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you so much, Derek. I really enjoy our back and forth between our communities, and also his podcast episode that I recorded with him earlier in the year went live last week, I believe, all about getting reviews. So it's very complimentary, because you'll see as I talk about this how much reviews really play into your book launch success. So I am going to get started here. Thank you again, Derek, for sharing me with your community, and we're gonna have a good old time here. So again, this just to make sure that everybody can see, let me move this over here out of the way. Slideshow, if I could get just someone to say that yes, you can indeed see my slides, then we will. All right, good. Okay. So I call this the Smash Your Book Launch webinar. I run this a couple times a year, and I do try to add updated information with new book launches that we have going in there. But as you'll see, as I go through the strategies in here, it's pretty much a copy and paste within, but not copy and paste the strategy, but then make the strategy work for you with your specific audience, etc., when you're building up for it. One of the things that I think Derek was probably alluding to with me going a little bit different down a different track is that because I am a publisher and have been publishing books with three different companies now for over a decade, we've seen that there definitely is a book launch strategy that, when implemented correctly, makes a big difference from some of the other things that people are talking about. And largely, it's not starting soon enough. But we'll get into all of that and I'll go through the different strategies with you. First, who am I? If you are new to me, I'm a little bit I have my hands on a lot of pots. I got a lot going on, and that's kind of the way that I like it. My background actually was in Homeland Security, counterterrorism. I was an intelligence officer in the Air Force for years, and I like things to be exciting. And the cool thing about publishing and book marketing is that it is very exciting. It changes a lot. There's always new things happening. There's always new threats, if you will, and new things to figure out. So for me, making the transition into publishing was a really good fit from coming from an environment like that that was very diverse and exciting as well. I started by self-publishing a book for grieving mothers after I lost an infant daughter over a decade ago, and just fell in love with the publishing process, love teaching, love sharing my knowledge, and over the years have built an entire community around it. So I do a lot of things between our different companies. Love teaching, training, sharing resources, and getting people to the right places with the right tools and resources. And I do live in Columbia, South Carolina with my three now teenage children. Oh, the youngest one is almost a teenager, but they would die if they knew that I just put up this picture of them here. So don't tell anyone that I did that. But yep, these guys are why I do what I do. And here are my other children. These are my companies, and sometimes it is very much like raising a family, raising these companies. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? First of all, before you can understand how to have a successful book launch, you have to understand kind of the different parameters. Goodness, I'm having a hard time with my words today. Parameters around launches. So we're going to briefly discuss different types of launches. We're going to talk about goals and realistic expectations, because I think this is what gets most indie authors is we hear these incredible stories of these huge successful launches and we don't realize what all went into them. And actually, Derek shares on the podcast about how his first launch didn't go that well, but then he learned some things and came back and did a massive launch. So if you're learning the tactics and the tools and you're setting yourself up for success by learning, by really understanding what it is to be a marketer. And we're not just, as much as we just want to be creatives and write all the time, especially if you're self-publishing, you have to teach, you have to treat your book like a product within your business and really go on from there. And then most importantly, we're going to talk about case studies, and then we'll go into some Q&A. Whoopsie. Oh goodness. What is happening here? Okay, that's where we just were. Okay, I would like to know from you, how early is too early? Like, when do you believe that book marketing should start? Oh, yay, Debbie's coming to Charlotte. Today is a great time while you're writing. Yes. A year before publication. So I'm going to tell you that there's no wrong or right answer here. It's when you can get in and do it. There's always, like, you want to start as early as possible. And why I do like it when people are thinking about marketing while you're writing is because that the marketing strategy that you have may in fact influence your writing. If you think about writing to market, which people don't like that term, but honestly, it's smart. When you're writing to market, it means that you are writing books for a market that you know exists, and you're going to have already have expectations and a community set up. Like if you're writing Regency or romantic comedy, or right now, if you've been following any of the people who talk about trends and marketing, vigilante justice is a big one, but also in the romance category is sports romance. If you are a romance writer or follow any romance writers or any of that stuff, certainly you have seen nothing but hockey books coming out lately. Like, that's a big trend. So when you're thinking about how can I be successful, you don't always want to be chasing trends, but when you're writing, you do want to make sure that there is a market to write to. So yes, thinking about marketing doesn't mean you have to get out there and start posting about your book on social media, but you have to be thinking about what you are going to be doing. Yes, so much hockey. Everybody's doing hockey right now. Okay. So this is a busy slide, but the majority, basically what you need to get from this is starting over here. Like basically, no later than in the editing process, you should be thinking about your marketing strategy because it impacts the tropes. It impacts so many things. It impacts just everything with your writing and making sure that you're following in line with what you're supposed to be doing. I've been talking fiction, but let's talk about children's books. As you're going through the editing, you'll be thinking about your audience and who you're going to be. Is it going to be a book for children ages 4 to 8? And if so, have you used enough of the high frequency words? Have you followed the guidelines for that age group? All kinds of things, because if your book doesn't match the audience that it's supposed to go to, you're going to have a heck of a time marketing it. So there we go. Just a little bit of background on that. Okay, so quickly talking about the different types of launches. There are a bajillion different ways to market a book. You may hear something from me that is completely in contradiction to what someone else would say. You may hear the same things from a lot of people. You may hear some people love pre-orders, some people hate pre-orders. There's a lot of ways to do this, y'all. Okay, so what I want you to know is we're going through what I know from years of book launches to be things that work really well. And if it contradicts with something that somebody else said, that does not mean either of us are wrong. That means we take different approaches. And that's kind of the cool thing about marketing, is that you figure out what's going to work best for you. The first thing that you have to figure out what's going to work best for you is what type of launch you're doing. Because if you're trying to do a traditional launch and you've only given yourself 1 week to market your book, it's not going to work. So we're going to go through the different types of launches. Sorry, I was just reading the comment there. Okay, so a rapid release. Rapid release works really, really well for certain genres. For romance writers, especially like sweet, clean romance. Well, for all of them, actually. They tend to put out a lot of books very, very fast. So in this case, their marketing strategy is writing more books. And it makes a lot of sense because, as you'll see in some of the post-launch strategy things that I show you in a minute, their books are what are generating the next book coming out and the next book coming out and the next book coming out. And their backlist is what generates a lot of their sales and their marketing efforts, etc. This is very hard to do. I write in this genre, and I can tell you it took me 5 years to write my first book and another 2 years to do the second book. So rapid release is not going to work for me until I have the time of my life to actually write all the time. So this is pretty hardcore, but it really, really works. And this one I wanted to throw in here, same author as the last slide, Emma St. Clair, and she's still producing books really quickly. But if you'll notice, a new part of her strategy here was to pair up with a fellow author who writes on a very similar voice, Jenny Proctor. And now they are doing a series together, which allows them to put out the books even faster. So that's a strategy that romance writers, some other types of fiction authors will do this same strategy. But obviously, if you're writing epic fantasy and it's, thousands of words longer than a normal novel, you can't put out a book a month. You can't do that. So again, it depends on your genre, whether or not, and how fast you can write, whether or not that's going to be a good strategy for you. Now, Ellie, she launched a book a month, which is mind blowing, but you can see, I mean, look at the numbers of reviews. They're really killing it through doing a strategy like this. There's other kinds of rapid release books too that aren't necessarily in the I'm writing one book after another. You might have a rapid release if you have a specific book with a specific purpose that needs to get out there quickly. So like I mentioned, my first book was a nonfiction grief book, Sunshine After the Storm, a survival guide for the grieving mother. There was no need for me to do a long tail book launch marketing campaign because it wasn't about marketing and having pre-orders and having a big, huge, massive launch. It was about getting a book out that I needed and that I knew other parents needed as well. And we got it out in as quickly as we could. And we're really trying to hit a specific date, October 15th, which is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Date. So you may have a rapid release to meet a specific date, awareness, or event. Maybe you are going to speak at an event and your book is a big piece of it. You might go for a rapid release to do that. And then with Dinner for a Dollar, this book, the whole idea of the book was to launch the book to start a business. And a lot of non-fiction authors will do that. Their book is their tool for creating their courses and moving forward. So the book comes out without a bunch of hoopla ahead of time because it is doing something special for them. And then you have your passion project books. These are, you have a book, you want to publish it, it's very important to you, you've been working on it for a long time. You couldn't give a rat's patootie if anybody buys the book or, outside of your own community of people that are looking for it. So with these books, they're we put out one about my great grandmother's stories, all about her life that was for our family. There's a lot of passion project books that are never put into the world with the intent of making money, but are solving are the literally something that someone does out of a passion for it. And then lastly, you have your relaunch. Maybe you have a book that didn't go well. Maybe you launched it too fast. Maybe you realized the cover was terrible and doesn't match your genre. Maybe you started getting reviews and people were like, wow, this book really needs to be re-edited. Lots of reasons why you would do a relaunch. You may or may not do a new cover. You may or not re-edit the book, but you can even relaunch a book without changing any of those things and just do another launch if it's not selling the way you want it to sell. Okay, but for most parts of what I'm going to be teaching today, it is based on a traditional launch strategy. What I mean by that is kind of like what the traditional publishing houses would follow. So it's a long, long tail. You're not trying to do everything really, really quickly. You're trying to set up your author platform, your foundation, your base, and you're going to do all the things in preparation of this launch to find readers, to build buzz, to create word of mouth marketing, and to really create the best runway that you can for this particular type of launch. So you don't have to, as we go through the case studies and strategies, you don't have to do all the things. It doesn't have to be as long as it is, but I would encourage everybody on your first book, maybe even second or third book, until you're getting to the point where you have enough books out there to generate more interest and more readers, that you give yourself at least 3 to 6 months for marketing once the book is ready and you can hand it physically or via ebook to people to read and help you promote. So first thing you have to think about is what you want. That's where you're really going to place your main focus on in your marketing strategy, is by what you are specifically trying to achieve. If you just want to put something out into the world so that you can say you published a book, then you're not going to have to do a lot of these types of things. If you're trying to grow a huge email list versus actual sales, you're going to take a little bit of a different strategy. If you're trying just to go for sales, then you're going to be doing more like ads and promos and direct marketing to the sales page rather than trying to build up an email list of people that you turn into fans. So there's going to be a goal that you have. This is what I am trying to achieve with this book launch. And just I would make sure that you're setting realistic goals. I would not try to say my goal is to earn a full-time living, a full-time income as an author, as a writer on this first book launch, when you don't have an email list, when you don't have a bunch of readers yet, when you don't have that. Now that's a great big picture goal. I want to be a full-time writer, and I'm going to do that through these steps over this many years. But think about what you're trying to get so that you can make sure that you're doing the right activities to go in that direction. So some of the common mistakes that we see is people don't start early enough. They don't create that pre-launch marketing. They don't create enough buzz. They don't know the audience. So they're not building the right audience. They're not getting out in front of the audience. And they're not communicating via their book description, their cover, their social media, through all the different ways that we're communicating. They're not communicating in a way that makes sense to the author. So that might be like if you've been writing children's books and now you want to write romance, but you don't know how to make that shift in verbiage, or whether you should start a new audience, or all those kinds of things, but you have to know how to communicate to the readers of your book. And then most importantly, not most importantly, these are all important, but a lot of burnout happens, or a lot of drop in sales happens when there's no plan post launch. So you can do a lot of things building up, or you can just launch, or you can do all kinds of different things, but you have to have a continued marketing strategy that continues to grow authors and grow readers after the fact, because you constantly have to be adding new readers to your list, because what I call the cheeseburger effect, or not effect, but we don't sell cheeseburgers. So someone's not going to come buy my book today and then buy it again tomorrow and then buy it again the next day and then, bring their whole family and everybody orders a cheese. That's just not the way it works in books. We have one product, sometimes multiple formats, until we get more products. We have to continue adding more people to that so that we're not marketing to the same people over and over and over. So my comprehensive launch strategy, and again, this varies so much on your goals, but if you're going for a big first time, I'm laying the whole foundation, I want to build as much as I can with this first book, you're going to first make sure that your book is positioned properly. And listen, we talk about this all the time. Sometimes people just have a bad book. And no matter what your marketing strategy is, there's no fixing that. So think about, have I marketed, have I workshopped this book, have I gotten feedback from other authors, have I gotten feedback, have I gone through editing, have I gotten a manuscript critique, have I done all these types of things? But if you know that your book is positioned properly in the marketing, i.e. the right categories, you're using the right keywords, you're talking about it right, the cover looks like what you expect, all that kind of stuff, you have to have that all done to make sure that you are spending your time and energy marketing a book that people actually want to buy. You want to create as much buzz as possible prior to the book. Why? It's a great question. This is definitely a traditional strategy where they go out because they're trying to get lots of pre-orders. They're trying to get the books in stores and libraries and all these places. But for indie authors, we're all authors, there are a lot of things that can only happen before a book is launched. There are a lot of people that won't talk about a book once it's been launched a certain amount of time. There are exciting things that can happen before the book is published where people want to get in on it and be a part of this new book that's coming out into the world. So there's a lot of excitement that happens prior to a launch that you can't get back after the launch. However, there are lots of things that you can do to create buzz after the launch. So don't panic if you didn't do a big lead in. Your strategy is going to just be a little bit different. But there are trade reviews, libraries, retailers. If those are a big part of your audience and your strategy, then you want to get to them early on. Okay. Then you want to make sure that you're building a launch team, advanced readers, reviewers. Reviews cannot be understated how important they are in getting you to the point where you are selling more books. And you want to work on constantly expanding your reach, whether that's before your launch, during your launch, or after your launch. You want to be growing your audience. So this can come in a lot of ways, through podcasts, through summits, through in-person events, through trade shows, through media outreach, through blogging, through just talking about your book to people, to having events, to doing library events. I mean, there are a million ways that you can expand your reach, but we have to be thinking about all these ways so that we're constantly growing our audience. And then how you talk about your book, how you talk about your genre, how you talk about you as a public figure now, as an author. These things really matter when you're trying to grow your fans and then gaining visibility all the time through launch and beyond. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because this can vary all across the board. You can spend $25 on your book launch. You can spend $25,000 on your book launch. So just some ideas of things that, and these change. I think the Goodreads giveaway might have gone up a little bit, but roughly $100 to $150, giving out print copies if you're doing that, hiring for support, marketing or ad spend, if you're having a party. Like, these are things you need to consider. And I only put this slide in here to make sure that you are thinking about the financial elements involved so that you can break those out over time and so that you can make sure that you're spending money efficiently. But you should plan on spending some level of money in your marketing. Okay. So we're going to get into some case studies here, but I want you to understand that no matter which route to marketing you're going, no matter what your goals are, no matter whether you're doing a long tail launch or a rapid release or whatever you're doing, reviews and sales are the goal, the overall goal, if you're trying to make more money and get more visibility on your books. I like this little slide because that's how we all want our launch day. We've all been there, right? Launch day, and you're hitting refresh, trying to see if anything's been ordered on KDP, or if you can see any sales, or if you've gone up in the ranking, or if you're getting more reviews, all those kinds of things. That's fun. It's not fun to launch a book and two crickets. That's not fun. So it's going to be your strategy that gets you there. So I like to talk strategy by literally going through how we have launched different books. And I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because you'll see that the strategy is basically the same each time. It is just changed and tweaked by the genre and by the author. So it doesn't, sometimes some authors are going to do certain things that'll be really good for them. For example, if you are launching a children's picture book, and your goal has to be schools and libraries. Like, that's it. That is where books are getting sold. Yes, you can sell a lot of picture books on Amazon if people know that you're there, but most of the books are going to come through sales to Baker and Taylor, to Follett, to through Ingram Spark, through the back end of that, through all the retailers, into libraries, into schools, and then of course direct sales by you going in there. So for a children's picture book, the strategy is going to be very much focused on libraries, teachers, parents, and students. And so it's going to be a little different because your in-person events are critical. And also probably having a print run that is sold through traditional distribution, which even independent authors can do, so that you have better quality books, so that they're printed at a lower cost, so that you can actually afford to continue on in publishing books. And then, getting this really out there marketing strategy where everybody knows who you are. Editorial and trade reviews are critical for children's picture books, especially if you're trying to get into the library system. They will actually check to see which books have a trade review associated with them. So these are again, why you start thinking about marketing way far in advance, because some of these things require you to be doing them 6 months prior to the actual launch of the book or longer. So you really want to be thinking about what's important. Now, we like to use Children's Book Review, specific to children's book, obviously. They do some phenomenal blog tours and influencer tours. You can, as part of your promo, you can set up a giveaway. So we always do a classroom set of books. There's just a lot of ways to create buzz around this particular tour. Now, you might think to myself, I don't write children's picture books. Well, every genre has a service out there that will do something like this. You just have to go out and be willing to do it. A trade review are reviews through the official review programs for the trade, the book trade. So you're looking at things like Publishers Weekly, Children's Book Review counts as a trade review. Kirkus, Clarion. There are a lot of companies that their whole job is around the trade of books and doing reviews, professional reviews on books. Okay, so we also will run ads. We'll run ads. This one on the left is an example of an ad that we ran through an e-blast that the Independent Book Publishers Association offers, where they will send out your information to a big list of librarians that they have. And we make sure all of our books go on Goodreads, because that's where readers are at. That's where people are leaving reviews. You can do giveaways. You can do all kinds of great stuff. Big fan of Goodreads. And we put our books on NetGalley, because if you're not familiar with NetGalley, yes, it is a little bit pricey, but if you're struggling finding reviewers, using sites that are actually comprised of reviewers, like NetGalley, like Book Sirens, there's other sites out there that will do book reviews for you and find reviewers for you. But this one has serious readers on it. It has librarians, it has retailers, it has a lot of people out there. So if you're trying to create a lot of buzz, not only for reviewers, but in front of libraries and retailers, the NetGalley is a place you should look into. Kirkus, this is a review from Kirkus. Sometimes they can be amazing, sometimes they can be terrible. I would tell you to be aware of Kirkus as an indie author. It may not be the one that you want to spend your money on, but it's one that I have an example for. Okay, so a different genre completely. This is Grief and Loss. It's a memoir. Her strategy was a bit different than this. Her strategy was very heavy on the front side, creating a wide group of endorsers. And so she had a ton of advanced praise that was published in her book, that was put on her Amazon page, that was put in all these places because she put the book in the hands of other experts in her field, other grieving parents, other psychologists, and people that were important in this world of child loss and grief and loss and healing. And she went out to those communities and asked for endorsements and support through there. She also did a lot of editorial submissions, i.e., writing guest blog posts and articles for websites. She outreached into grief writers group, but also grieving parents groups, and she focused heavily on speaking engagements. Again, all of this was done more than a year in advance of her book launch because it takes time to do all those things. These aren't things that can happen in a week. You can't decide you want to get 30 endorsements and you need them all. You need to find the endorsers and get them the book and get the endorsements back in a 2-week window. That's just not going to happen. So you have to plan for what, again, part of your strategy. Do I want a lot of endorsements? Do I want to praise pages? Do I want to be able to include all of these things? And of course, with nonfiction books, any type of book where you're going out and telling a story or teaching something, like speaking engagements are going to be a huge part of your book sales. And these are some of the editorial, we put them under editorial reviews, many of the reviews that she got in advance and praises for her book. So connecting with influencers, still a thing. Getting all those ARC copies out there, advanced reader copies, for those of you who don't know what that is. Outreach to the groups that matter, to your readers, to your audience. Who's gonna want to read your book? Getting in front of all those people, and putting it in places where people who wouldn't find it through your outreach can find it, like NetGalley, Book Funnel. Doing all of those things that we just talked about, that is going to really enhance it. And if you have days, remembrance months, or awareness months, or anything that have to do, like we have another book on kindness. We always really market the book around Random Acts of Kindness Day. About Kindness Month, I think, is in February. There's all kinds of opportunities for you to see what's happening in your world and connect your book to that, and also do more publicity and outreach. Okay, so I could go through example after example in every kind of category on how you could follow that same like 12-month pattern of doing lots of visibility, finding readers, get your ARC copy out there, putting it on review sites. But you will see it's often the same strategy over and over, just customized to the genre. Obviously, you're not going to put a fiction book on children's book review. You're probably Book Sirens tends to be more towards fiction, YA, those types of books, than it does nonfiction. But there's other places that would potentially focus more on nonfiction. You might decide that podcasts are a better avenue for you to be getting out there. There's going to be lots of different things that you plug into your marketing strategy, but it's all going to come down to, am I getting in front of the right readers? Am I creating buzz? Am I creating opportunities for word of mouth marketing? And am I getting reviews? That's going to be a massive part of your pre-launch and into launch. But then the post-launch period gets overlooked a lot of times. We get worn out. We've done all of this pre-launch stuff, and now we're like, phew, I just want to take a break. You can take a break, but schedule, if you're looking at your activities long enough in advance, there's a lot of things that can be created in advance and scheduled in advance so that you still have stuff going. You're still going to be wanting to remind people, it's my launch day. It's a week after my launch day. You're on my ARC team. You said you were going to leave a review. What have, can you post about this? Can you do this thing to help me out? But in post-launch, you have a bunch of fun opportunities to do that you can't do in pre-launch, because now your book is actually available for sale. So you can put it on discount. You can really do other things that will help you get in front of new readers. And one of the best avenues, I think, for self-published authors is the paid promo campaigns. Once you have a book out there, if you're in Kindle Unlimited and you can reduce the cost to $0, so that they're just going to send, and you're going to get thousands of downloads. And I'll show you some examples of that and some stats from that in a minute. But Written Word Media just recently announced that they are now also letting you sell directly through that too. So you could send them to your own website, not have to go through Kindle Unlimited, which would be just amazing. And that's a conversation we can have later on down the road. But you want to continue with your marketing and not give up on the book. I've seen so many people that have had these incredible pre-launch 3 to 6 months, just wonderful pre-launch activities. They sell a bunch of books on launch day, maybe the week after that, and then book sales just go whoop to zero because they're not continuing with the things to continue marketing it. And the answer is not posting more on social media, because guess what? Your audience, if it's not growing, they've already seen about your book. They've already seen all the things that you've been posting. They are not where you're going to get more sales. Where you're going to get more sales and reviews is by getting in front of other people's audiences and by continuing to grow people into your network. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples of folks who've gone through our book launch in a box program and taken things and gone up from them. So Elizabeth shared with us, she's a cozy mystery author. She writes in series, so her books always have multiple books coming out, which is just a great way to grow your audience and to grow your sales, because when they find one of your books and they like them, they're going to go back and buy them all, especially if you have a good launch strategy that includes discounting your other books in series and all of those types of things. She did a stacked promo for books 1 and 2 in her series, then launched 3. That means she was sending a bunch of people through hopefully you're familiar with places like Written Word Media, the Fussy Librarian, Robin Reads, any of these promo lists. Basically, it's their job to curate and cultivate a huge list of readers in your category, and then you pay to have your book promoted in front of them at a discount usually. So it can get you in front of all kinds of readers that you would have never been in touch with before. But when she did this, she got 8,000 downloads of her first book, her sales on the second book, because she just discounted that one, and then it doubled the pre-orders of book 3. So this is farther out. When you have multiple books, especially if you're writing in a series, you can start thinking about how these promo campaigns will help you when you have multiple books. Something to look forward to. And now she has another series that's a YA thriller book, and she's doing the same thing. Her 4th book launches on September 1st. She will have that one for free download, and the rest of her books discounted as well. So that's a great opportunity for you to get your backlist by doing all of those post-launch activities around your book. So again, when you're looking at what you can do after launch, you can do price drops, you can do KU paid promos, you can put another book on pre-order, all kinds of things to help you continue marketing out there. I'm not going to go through this one because that's another case study, and I want to show you Casey's because she is a combination of traditional and rapid launch. So she launches books on a regular basis, but she has incorporated some of the long tail marketing activities into it. So she's kind of like a hybrid launch, I would say. But she runs promos around the launch of every single book as they come up. So this was really fun. There's a lot on this, so just bear with me here. So she launches her first book, and you can see the color coding is up here for the book color key. So we're looking at sales down here for each book when she launches it. She launched the first book, and then she did a paid promo, which got 2,912 downloads. And then she did another one with 2 other companies and got other downloads from those. Then she wrote another book, and she launched her second book. I'm not sure. Book 2 was released here. Book 3 was released here, but she's incorporated in the promo campaigns each time. And as you'll see, she gets more and more sales from this first book every time she launches another book and does other paid promo campaigns. There's always book sales for the first book, sometimes more so than others. And this will continue to grow as she continues to put out books and to build her backlist of readers as well. So a lot of times people get all nervous about all the things that they need to do doing pre-launch, and they don't spend a lot of time thinking about how much you're going to want to put into your marketing efforts post-launch as well. So thinking long-term in what you're doing. Now, if you're like, I haven't even written my first book, this is blowing my mind to think about how I'm going to market 6 different books, and I am also not going to release 5 books that I can tell you right now in under a year. Well, I guess this is about 2 years time frame. That's pretty fast, but she's doing really well with it and moving along and building up a lot more sales, a lot more reviews, a lot more pre-orders, and it all trickles down to add to more sales. Again, another 5-day free promo from another one of our authors. Launched her to #1. This is book #1 in a 3-book series. And as she was doing all of this, this is 1 month of royalties. Now, if you're new to it and you're thinking, I want to make $100,000 in a month in royalties, this may not seem like a lot to you. However, when you're first growing, if to make $500 in royalties in 1 month is pretty phenomenal, and hopefully that will just keep going up and up and up for her. And all the page reads here associated with her free downloads. So when people get the book for free, it's not totally for free. You get paid for page reads. And a lot of time, if you have this many page reads, you'll get paid back for whatever that promo cost you. So it's great. All right, I'm not gonna, let's see, I want to have time to answer questions. So just kind of more case studies on what people are doing. This is a nonfiction book again, social media marketing, finding advanced readers. You're going to see that finding advanced readers, finding readers. That's a common theme coming through that. Getting the reviews, submitting for book awards. That's another thing you can do post-launch. And some of them will allow you to submit before the book has been published as well, as long as it's going to be in there in that year. All right. So throughout all of these strategies, through all of these different tactics, there is common ground. There's also some things that some people would do specific to their audience, specific to their book, but the common ground comes down to, are you growing the amount of readers you have? Is the book positioned well so that you are in front of the right audience and marketing to the right audience? Anyone who is doing things to get more visibility is going to continue to grow. Anyone who is using opportunities to send thousands of people to their book, like doing the paid promos, putting your book in Kindle Unlimited, doing things like that so that you're getting the visibility amongst people. Sorry about that. Paid advertising and marketing will, once you're all set up properly for things, can really boost things. And then continuing to market and not just be like, okay, I published my book, I did my advanced launch team, I did these things, I'm done. I can just go back to being a writer. That's one tactic. You can write more books. We've already established that publishing more books is a very effective marketing tool. But even the authors who are like Emma St. Clair, the one that I showed you, she's publishing books over like on a rapid rate. But let me tell you, she is marketing her heart out on social media, growing her audience, going places, doing things. Even the ones who are using rapid release are still doing marketing activities and looking to find ways to get in front of other audiences. It's a long game. It does not just stop at launch. You have to continue taking key consistent actions, having a plan, knowing how you're going to get from X, Y, and Z, knowing where your primary focus areas are going to be, and doing the tactics to get people there. So I do want to talk about, I'm going to answer some questions in just a second. Please make sure you've dropped your questions in the Q&A box if you dropped them in the chat so that I don't miss any of them. But I do want to take an opportunity to talk to you about our program, which teaches the strategy that I just talked about. But I'm only going to talk about it if there's anyone in this audience who is interested in it. And that's not just a gimmick. I just literally, if nobody's interested, don't want to spend a bunch of time going through. Is anybody interested in hearing about our program? Okay, good. All right. Yes, the slides will be included in the replay. Oh my gosh, y'all, I am having the heck of a time with this mouse today. Okay. So Book Launch in a Box is our program that we run live over the summer. It's about a 6-month program that we run live, but in the rest of the year, we do on demand. So if you want to do the live program, you have to wait until next June to get into the program. It's a heftier price tag. We have live events, live Q&A, and all that kind of stuff. But the content in the on-demand program is the same, and you can access it right away. There's just no live Q&A sessions or those types of things with it. But I'm going to go through the modules. There's a lot of bonuses. There's a lot of great content that comes along in the program. Tons of bonuses that help you with your marketing, with your social media, with your book marketing profile, with creating all of the things you need to do. But Book Launch in a Box, let's first of all rule out anybody that would not be a good fit for it. Nobody who's rapid launching needs to come in and do all of these things, because we're talking about the long tail, right? If you're already seeing high sales, please reach out to me and ask if you can do a workshop, because I'm always interested in interviewing people that are already seeing high sales and what they're doing. There's a lot of different ways to get there, and we're interested in how everyone is doing it. Anybody who wants to hire full service, if you just want somebody else to do it for you, this is not the program. And if you don't have any time to put into it, because we really do, it's not like you're not going to be spending 17 hours a day, but there is some time involved in, especially in the positioning piece, and sitting down and really making sure that you understand your metadata and all the different pieces that you'll use for your marketing. Is your book description good enough? Do you have great blurbs and hook lines and all those types of things? So you got to be able to put in some elbow grease and do some work. It is for anyone who is not launching tomorrow, basically. I mean, you can come back and relearn the information. And in fact, we have people in the program who redo the program every year when they're getting ready to launch a book again. So it's there to come back to, but it's a long tail. Again, it's consistent actions taken over time. If you have time to invest and you want to learn the marketing, a traditional book launch that then you can apply to all of your future book launches and things that you're doing, or even go back and do some of these things for a book that you didn't market the way you wanted to. It'll help you. And then if you're willing to show up and do the work, if you have big goals and you want to have fun and be a part of a community of authors who are supporting each other and doing all of those types of things. Okay. So just a couple of things from biggest takeaways from some other members. They realized how a marketing plan that fits your strengths is so important, how growing your email list is so important, that you can concentrate on a small range of tools and do them properly rather than trying to do everything, and that approach doesn't work well. So let's talk about the different fundamentals that are in there. Fundamental one is positioning your book to sell. So you want to make sure that you are in the right categories, that you're that there is a market for your book, that your cover meets the expectations of a cover in that genre, all those types of things. Positioning is really important. Doing your comp title research, all of those types of things that a lot of people don't take the time to do. And Linda Needham said that this part was well worth it for her, that it helped her analyze her book's market assets, discover her target audience, and understand the market variables, which all of these things are just critical in successful marketing. Then we go hard into creating buzz specifically for retailers and libraries, because they have a different route to marketing than and to sales than your average reader who just goes onto a retail site or on Amazon or buys from your website. There are specific things that have to happen in a certain timeline. We talk all about the tip sheet that you would present to retailers and libraries, like where they want to see the book, what kind of information that they want when they're being marketed to, trade reviews and editorial reviews, tons of information on those and whether or not you need them. The CIP block, which is critical if libraries are in there, the PCIP block, we go into detail on that. If you don't know what those things are, we teach you them. The Book Launch in a Box program is essential in helping me prepare my novel, Beauty Beheld. She loved the easy to navigate modules and convenient worksheets. We have lots of worksheets. Fundamental 3 now gets into buzz with readers, consumer readers, your launch team, the ARC process, how to find readers, all of those types of things. Marilyn says, she wasn't sure, but she highly recommends the program. Fundamental 4 is all about messaging. This isn't just messaging in terms of like how I show up on social media and talk about myself in my book, but you also have messaging like your hooks and log lines. How do people read your book blurb? Are they understanding what your book is about? All of this is really, really important to get right. This is one of my favorite examples. We have great examples from everywhere, but Emily really liked all of the information that we taught on how to utilize different tools to help you schedule and post your content in advance so you're not feeling like you're constantly at trying to create posts and get them out there. She hit all of doing the things that we taught, especially with building the ARC team. She just nailed her launch and had one of the bigger launches that we've seen. And recently she just posted a thank you to us about her 10,000 books sold and shouted us out for giving her the tools to do that, which I thought was really pretty amazing. Fundamental 5, we're getting into expanding your reach. So this is where those paid promos, where all of those things that we were just talking about, how you send out to lists, how you do this and that to really, really get out in front of other people's audiences. We talk about leveraging other people's audiences. What does that even mean? How do you get in front of other audiences? How do you do all of these things? That's what Fundamental 5 is going to cover. And you saw Casey is the one who we showed the series of her launching more and more books and sales going up and all of that. And that one of her biggest takeaways was the importance of visibility. You can't rely on people randomly discovering your book, and you don't want to be going back and begging your friends and family to be the ones buying and leaving reviews, because they won't do it. Some of them will, but you want to make sure that you are getting more visibility. All right. And Pat Black-Gold, one of our favorite authors, she's actually going through the program again now as she's getting ready to launch her first historical fiction. So again, you're going to go back if you do a book. She did a children's picture book first. When you launch a book that's different, you got to go through and do all the things differently. So she enjoyed receiving all the help. And then visibility. This is where we really talk post-launch type things, but you can do visibility at any point in time. Sharing your story, talking about your story, understanding what PR and publicity are. We have modules by April Pertwee, who is just an expert at helping people pull out key elements of their story and share them, whether that's in PR campaigns, whether that's you talking in your newsletters that you're writing, whether you're doing all those things. And then we also have Chrissy Bernal, who is a publicist, and she's got multiple modules in this as well with all about publicity. And another incredible takeaway and reviews, which you can read through all of our wonderful testimonials when you see the slides. I won't read all of these out there. Some more covers from some of the other folks who have gone through our program. Okay, so what is the cost to take Book Launch on Demand? The normal price is $497. Because you're part of Derek's community and we like to help out each other's communities, you can use a coupon code of $200 off. That's coupon code Derek. That should be fairly easy to remember. And you can just go to writepublishsell.com/Derek. And if you choose the payment plan, it will take off the $200 from that first payment plan, that first payment, but it should work on both. The coupon should work on both of those. And again, you'll get there is so much content in all 6 of those fundamentals with lots of sub training. There's just, oodles of training on all of those types of things. And there is an option to join every once in a while for a Q&A session, which I'll tell you about if you join that. But this part of the program is basically self-paced, but we're available to answer things via email if you come up with some issues or questions that you have. It's a great program. We're again running it live right now. If you want to go through the live program, then you can just come back and sign up next May when we start marketing it. But I think if you are a couple months, 6 months, 12 months out from thinking about your launch, I would highly encourage you to get in here and do this work. At least be familiar with the content. So, because for me, what I really feel like happens is that people don't think about things and then they get in a pinch where they're like, oh crap, I really wish I had done X, Y, and Z before my book launched, and then it's too late. So if nothing else, if you're aware of things, then it helps you not make mistakes with your launch later on down the road. All right, I'm going to answer some questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to update from last year's slide. I think that the promo goes for 2 weeks. So ignore the 827. It's for 2 weeks to give our replayers time to think about it. But that should be, and the course materials themselves, they don't expire. So you don't have to have gone through and watch them all. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that we can do questions, and I'll drop that link in the thing. Thank you everybody for hanging out and staying with us as long as you have. I was telling Derek before everybody joined us, I probably should have given this as a disclaimer before I started. And that was, I had a really weird health situation this summer, and I'm still kind of regaining energy and brain power. So sorry if I stumbled over some words and did some things, said some weird things. That happens to me now. It happened to me before, but now it's really happening on a more regular basis. So okay. Yes, there's a replay. Do you want me to just dig into these, or how do you want to do this, Derek?
Yeah, you can dig it. First of all, thank you so much for sharing this and sharing the special deal for your program. So
You're
I hope
welcome.
each of you can see. If you got a certain takeaway from this, you can drop that in the chat here, separate from the Q&A, but you can drop in the chat if you got something in particular. As I mentioned at the start, uh, you're always sharing things and nuances. Like there's the general principles of book launches, and then there's very specific things that you cover that I just don't hear other people talking about. So I love the detail that you put in and all the examples and case studies that you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, is it easier for me to read out the questions, or do you have a preference, Alexa, how you want to handle that?
If you want to read them, you can read them, and that way I can sit back, or I am perfectly
Yeah,
happy to read them. So
I'll go ahead and just start going through the Q&A here. And by the way, if you put something in the chat, we can go back through there too, but it'll be easier to find it if you drop it in the Q&A specific box here on Zoom. All right, so we have, do you recommend stacking book promos during the week of the launch of your first book, or is it okay to start during a different month afterwards?
wow, anonymous, way to go with this question that I can't answer really quickly. There's a lot of thoughts on this particular question, which is why I say that. So there are some people who would prefer that you don't give away your book for free in week launch during the week of the launch. Excuse me, tongue tied there, because all of your like fans or anybody who just bought the book may be annoyed that the day after launch you give it away for free. So generally, I tell people don't do the free downloads until a couple weeks after, even 3 or 4 weeks after, because it does a couple of good things for you. One, it gives you another big bump in your downloads and activity on your page outside of your immediate launch window. But two, that way, if you have friends and family who pre-ordered the book or paid full price for the book or did any of those things, and then they're like, dude, why'd you give it away for free right after I just bought it? So if you're not doing a lot of pre-launch activities and you are going with a big boom just on launch day and just going right for it on launch day, then it might make sense to do that because you haven't been marketing a pre-order. So it's really going to depend on what else you're doing around it. In terms of, you didn't ask this question specifically, but I'm going to ask this one. It's I don't like to initially do a stacked promo. So for those of you who don't know the difference, a stacked promo is when you have multiple of these lists send it out on the same day. So you may have 3 or 4 different lists sending out your book on one day. It generates a ton of downloads, like 10,000 plus if you've done multiple lists and they have a good size in that audience. However, if you've never used the programs before, you don't know which audience that came from. So they might have all come from written word media, but you've also paid several other companies a lot of money. So if I haven't used a company before on a book, I like to spread them out 1 week at a time or over a couple weeks so that I can really see the return on investment with a particular list. Now, so there's lots of trial and error. You can decide to do a big, everybody all at the same time and see how it goes, or spread it out. This is the fun part about marketing, I think, is testing data and running different things and let's try it this way and see how it goes. And let's try it this way and see which one was better, and just always be messing around and trying out different tactics. But yes, you can run those paid promos. We run them on the anniversary of publication every year. And then if there's something big, like my book is romance, so around the holidays, I'll always run a free download day, etc.
Yeah, I have a couple comments on that. One is if you are doing something where it's like a pre-order or they're paying for it, you have your fans and stuff like that. You could add in an additional bonus thing that they only get when they get it during that launch period or
Hmm.
that launch week. So even if it's free later on, it's like the people who got it free maybe didn't get the special bonus. So you can add in like perks and things like that. If you have
That's a
an
great.
email list and you're emailing out about it. And then, yeah, if you do stack something, you could stack it during a week and still have it on separate days so you can kind of track, okay, Monday went to this promo site, Tuesday went to this one, Wednesday. So you're starting to get some of that momentum. And it's also, you can still kind of break it down and see, get a sense of which site. There's going to be some carryover sometimes from one day to the next, but you kind of get more of a sense of which site is delivering the particular results.
Yeah, I like to play around and try all kinds of different things. I also like to have our authors send us stuff when they've done something so that I can see what's working. Because as you saw with Michelle's was one of the ones that I showed. She did multiple sites over 5 days, and for her that generated a massive amount in one in and she actually got a bunch of sales as well. So try different things, and at the end of the day, it's sales and reviews and fun stuff with it. So. I like that idea of the special bonus for your pre-order family, and that way they don't feel jilted if something happens after the fact.
And then we got which book promos and how many do you recommend using for a first book? There's a couple more questions after that, but I'll pause right there.
Okay, which book promos and how many do you recommend for the first book? So the which book promos is really going to depend on your genre. There are some that are only for romance. For example, a written word media and fussy librarian, I think, are the two of the broadest. They have lots of different categories under them. There's a whole bunch of promo communities out there. And so I would try a couple and see. First of all, most of them will state their list size around that. So if you go to one and you look it up and you're like, okay, like BookBub, for example, everybody knows a BookBub, but their children's market is a lot smaller than some of their other markets. So, it's not always an equal consideration. For running the promos for and check with other authors in your genre. So who are they using? What have they had good success with? What did they like? Also, if you're familiar with KDP Rocket, Kindlepreneur, Publisher Rocket, Dave Chesson, his whole franchise, they have an awesome blog post on all the different types of promo lists, whether they're paid or discounted lists, like the whole thing. So go Google that. And do you have any resources on that? I should have asked you
For
before.
for which promo sites?
For like any particular, do you have lists of which ones are the best or which one you recommend?
I've kept track for myself. Readsy has a good resource. If you do like Readsy book promo sites, they have a whole list and broken down. They break it down into different tiers and stuff. So that's usually where I recommend people start looking at it. That said, depending on your genre, like you said, there's some sites that are strictly romance books, right? Some sites that have a different size list depending on their audience. I think a lot of the bigger name ones, and bigger name won't really mean anything if it's your first time looking into this. If you've been around a little bit, you've probably heard of Fussy Librarian, Free Booksy, Bargain Booksy, BookBub is the biggest one. A lot of those different sites. So the ones that you hear a lot of people talking about, those tend to have the bigger audience.
Exactly. There were more questions
Yeah,
on
and
that.
then also, do you most book promos run for one day or a few days? And I can say that's going to be very much it depends. And then do you suggest using all five free KDP select free days? I'm guessing like use them all five in a row or dividing them up when you launch a book.
So again, this is depending on how many books you have and how many free days you can manage. And like, I like to stagger them out a little bit, but I have seen people go just do the whole thing at one time just to see what that'll bring them. And I mean, to be honest, I think that works really well if you have a backlist. If you only have one single book, I would recommend that you do not use all 5 days at the same time. because you're going to want to be able to continue doing those promos throughout the 90-day period. I don't want to blow all 5 days at one time. What do you think about that, Derek? How do you agree, disagree?
Uh,
Using them all at
the,
one
the
time or
the
spreading them?
challenge with this is a lot of the same things you're saying, is that it's kind of like, well, it sort of it depends. And I get it that a lot of people are like, I just want you to take all the guesswork out of it for me, just give me a proven plan. And that's a great reason to get your program, is you can get a plan here, and also get some of the mindset behind it of going, well, in your situation, you might approach it this way. If there's this other situation, you can approach it this other way. I guess it depends. If I'm not planning on running another promotion in 90 days, if I just really want to get as much momentum as possible, I lean towards, let me just do everything I can for a really big launch
Yeah.
when I first have something come out. And then later on, sometimes I get more experimental. I go, I want to test, I'm going to stagger out the different book promotion sites, because I kind of want to test for future purposes, going like, treating it more like an experiment, right? Okay, let me divide it up. Let me see, let me track how many downloads or sales I got from this site, and keep a spreadsheet, and do all that. When I first get going, though, sometimes it's just like, let me throw spaghetti against the wall. I guess I won't even see what sticks. I'm just going to throw everything into it. Uh, want to get the best results. Then down the road, I'll be more strategic with that. Some people might take the opposite approach. They go, let me really kind of test things out first, stagger things out. And once I really have kind of a good sense of, okay, this strategy works, this other one not so much, then later on do like another relaunch or promotion type of thing. So I tend to lean towards it's all trade-offs. Like, I guess, simplicity. Like, let me just do a big launch and do as many promotion sites as I can, just try to get as much momentum as I can, and understand some of that probably went to waste, so to speak. And I just want to get everything out there initially for a book launch. But also, I'm not considering as much, I'm in a place where I can maybe afford to do that. Some other people might be like,
Yeah.
I got a very limited budget, I got to be
Yeah.
very mindful. So that's why it's kind of, you got to factor in your own situation.
The one thing, in case you've never put a book on free, which I'm just going to sidebar for a second here and say, one of the things that I can tell you for a fact, as a publisher with two different publishing houses, and also having a lot of friends who are publishers, is that even for traditional publishers, 95% of sales are coming from Amazon. So let that sink in for a minute. So when you're deciding, should I make my book wide, like put it on all the ebook places, or should I just stick on Amazon? There's very compelling reasons to be on Amazon, especially when you're just very in the beginning, growing and publishing books and growing your audience, because this Kindle Unlimited and these free download days, like, they, to me, are, it's one of the biggest game changers for indie authors when you utilize them properly with these other tools and all of that kind of stuff. You'll never know how many people have checked out your book on Kindle Unlimited. It doesn't show you that. So I know I had one author who was like freaking out because she'd done all this book launch stuff, and she was like, I didn't get a single sale, not a single sale. And I was like, hold on, that can't be possible. Like, I've seen your marketing, like, it's not possible. Come to find out a month later, well, then she started seeing the page read spike, and I was like, see, people are checking out your book through Kindle Unlimited, and the page reads will come back. So people get scared about the $0 download, but you get paid back for page reads. So if you give away your book to 10,000 people for free, some of them are going to read the book, hopefully a lot of them, and then you'll get payment back through those page reads. So just to clarify on that. And so Kindle Unlimited and KU are the same thing. It's, people just talk about Kindle Unlimited as KU, and page reads apply to both because they're the same thing.
All right. And then, is 1 to 2 months enough time to market and build a launch team?
This really depends on, I know that's the answer of the day for me and Derek here, right? Because it does. That's the thing. Like, we can give you a blueprint on best practices and what should happen, but then when it comes down to individual decisions like that, it has so many factors. What's genre, for example? Genre makes a big difference. How many other books do you have? Do you have an email list at all? Are you starting from scratch? And are you planning on doing a huge like launch, or is this first book your kickoff book? For me, I didn't do a lot of marketing around my first book because I knew it was the first book of a series and I knew it was my building book. So I got into writing the next book as quickly as I could. So I wish I could. 1 to 2 months is better than 1 week. I'll tell you that. If you have 1 to 2 months, but focus on building your ARC team and getting advanced readers and reviews, because that will help you the most if you have a short time frame.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind is I like at least a few weeks for ARC team to have a chance to read the book.
Exactly.
It's going to take them time. They might have other books they're reading. They probably have a life outside of spending all their time reading your book. So factoring that in, that's why, you talk about Alexa, from the time you have the book done, or at least mostly done, mostly edited, there might be a few tweaks you can, make. Obviously, maybe if your ARC team gives some feedback and you want to make adjustments, but a draft that's readable, that's pretty much done, that's the point then when you're sending it off to ARC team, early readers, beta readers, whatever you want to whatever term you want to use. And so you got to at the very least factor in giving them some time to get through it. Another thing to consider is, maybe it's my bias, I think some people tend to either overestimate or underestimate things. I tend to underestimate how much is going to be involved in something, especially if you're first starting out. So if you think, oh, I could do it all in a month, sometimes that pressure can help. That's the flip side. I have seen sometimes a shorter time span, I work better under pressure. That said, I've also worked with many authors, and it's like I didn't factor in this, and well, there was a delay with this other thing, and then well, there weren't promo spots open up at this time, and I had to move this out. So, giving yourself a little bit of leeway is also important.
I agree with you. And also, if you know that you're writing another book and you are able to get a cover and a description and put it up on and you are solid on your date. Like the thing is, you don't want to mess up. I put my book on pre-order a year out. And normally that should have been enough time. I did not factor on winding up completely out of commission for 3 months this summer. So now I am in like a huge like rut trying to get the book done on time. So there are some downsides to putting your book on pre-order before you know that you actually can make it there. However, if you've got a series and you're looking at using these paid promos and you're going to be spending the time and energy to sending a bunch of people to the first book, try to have your next book on pre-order when possible. Because I know I got a huge bump in pre-orders after running a campaign to the first book. So lots of strategy behind it, I'm going to say, and the different ways to approach it will impact your timeline.
All right, and then do you need a separate website for your books if you're just writing your first one, or can you put it in your speaker website?
So Ruth, again, that depends. Is your so the answer would be if you have a speaker website and your book is part of your speaking tools, if it's relevant, if it's the book that you're going to be talking about, if it's your course, whatever you're doing around that, absolutely put it on your speaking website. Why make your life harder by having multiple places that you're sending people? Send them all to the same website. However, if you are a speaker about, building a business and your book is a cookbook, unless you're both teaching people how to build cooking businesses, then you're probably going to want to separate them out. Or if you're writing steamy romance and you're talking about, how to be a good Christian wife, you might want to just be careful on how you're mixing up your topics there. But if they go together, put them together.
Awesome. And then you've explained it a little bit. Maybe any further elaboration on what page reads are?
Yes. So it's literally when somebody downloads your book on their Kindle, and every time they read a page, you get credit for a page. And so if they read your whole book and your book is estimated at 330 pages on Kindle, then you'll get credit for 330 page reads. Now, what happens is every single month, they adjust what a page is worth in value. And they're like fractions of a penny per page. So it's not like you're getting paid $1 per page or even a cent per page. It's tiny, but it fluctuates every month based on how many people are putting into KU. So and it's actually a very robust program. I mean, they have cash prizes to the highest sellers on K. They've got a lot of stuff happening back there. But every month it will be an amount that they determine, and then you'll get that amount for you'll get paid that percentage rate applied to each page. So here's a little trick. I'm not a gimmicky person. I would never in a million years tell you to go have everybody just take your book and leave a review on Amazon 5-star, whether they've read it or not. That's not me. I will never teach you that. However, there is one thing, if you really want your friends to help you when it comes to money like this or making money from it, when it's on free, tell them to go buy it. And when they're sitting at soccer practice, they can scan through your book and you'll get those page reads for it. I don't know. I don't think that's too scammy, but it'll help you with things like that. But don't tell them to leave a review if they haven't read it, and certainly don't tell them to leave you a fake review.
All right. And then kind of address this. What are the sites like Robin Reads that sell at a discount?
Oh my gosh. Well, you go check out, somebody dropped the link to the Kindlepreneur one. Derek mentioned the one on Readsy. There are lots of different sites that you can go do. Robin Reads is one of them, Written Word Media, Fussy Librarian, but there are hundreds of them.
All right. And then best ways to grow email list, historical author, 2 books out, 3 more to come.
We could spend weeks just talking about this, but most importantly, I think for fiction authors, I think the easiest way to grow an email list is to give them something worth them getting on your email list. So you might get them as an ARC reader where they get on your email list because they got the advanced reader copy. Maybe you have a chapter that you're giving out. Maybe you have a novella that you give to everybody who comes onto your email list. Maybe you have a cut scenes, hidden scenes, something like that. You want to think of what your readers would enjoy and use that as an incentive to get them on your email list. The important thing is always, following up, making sure that you email enough. Not, you don't have to email every day, but you don't want to email for a year later and then everybody unsubscribe because they don't know who you are. But email list growth in itself is, I'm sure, something we have just spent oodles and oodles and oodles and oodles of time on training with. So that's my best answer quickly for you. If you've got 2 books out, I would make one of them perma-free that you're just always giving away to your email subscribers as a way to get them on there.
One thing I'll do is considering what a good bonus is that I can add to it because you already provide so much, Alexa, so complete. And I thought, okay, what I can do, and so it's a good question. I have a training. I have a very comprehensive training on email list building. There's one particular strategy in that training is on using viral giveaways, and this is something you can do if you're brand new, if you've yet to have a book out, if you have multiple books out. And one author, she started a brand new romance pen name. She did this a few times. Results not typical. Over 10,000 new email subscribers in like 3.5 months
Wow.
using the strategy. And another author did it. She got several thousand the second time she did it. Usually, a few hundred people is more typical. So when you get the Alexis program, forward me your receipt and I'll make a note to send an email about it. Forward me your receipt, and I'm going to give you the giveaways that get you readers training as a bonus. So that'll be a bonus for you, and that's specifically on using this viral giveaway strategy to grow your email list, and that'll work for virtually any genre.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is one of those things where I'm one of the, I don't think you can consider enough ideas. I really don't, because there are just lots of ways to do things. And I really think that it takes finding what works for your audience, what works for you, what you're comfortable doing, how you're doing it. And there are just so many great strategies out there. The viral giveaway, yeah, if you're looking to grow really, really quickly, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll just
yeah,
stop right there.
yeah. And I say pretty much all roads lead back to building your email list. So that's why you're saying, Alexa, it's
Exactly.
like what you do on social media can build your email list. If you're going on podcasts, you're doing interviews, you're speaking somewhere, you have a free, as you said, like the core main thing is having some sort of free, especially if you're a historical author, particularly for fiction, an example of your writing. Right? There's a lot of cool free things that you can give away for fiction authors. And I don't know if it's nonfiction, historical, or fiction, especially for fiction authors. I think there's a number of cool things that you could use to build your list. One thing I recommend prioritizing though is an example of your writing. So that could be first book in a series that's perma free. That could also be offered on your website, a novella, a short story, something like that. So that way they get a sense, do they like your writing style, your storytelling? And then nonfiction, you could do either a free book, either you could also do, there's tons of other cool little like helpful free video training, cheat sheets, all kinds of stuff that you can do. But that's the foundation. Like virtually every author, you want to have something where a person goes to your website, an opt-in page, there's something that's going to entice them to want to sign up to your email list. And then all the other strategies can be driving people to that.
Sounds good. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of questions in here. Um, I want to skip down to one at the bottom. So maybe you have an answer on this. Unless it has changed, uh, you get paid for page reads even on 0 download days, correct? That's the way I've seen them. Have you
I'm not
saying that they don't get paid for page reads on 0 downloads?
not sure. Where's the, I'm looking for the question. I'm not,
It's way
I
down at the
heard,
bottom.
okay, so I heard free ebook downloads add to a book's ranking. Would it still be a better if you have your, wait, is that the same question or is that different?
That's a different one. So aren't page reads only attributed to people who have Kindle Unlimited? So to clarify, wouldn't people downloading a book for free and don't have KU not count towards page reads? I'm pretty sure they are kept separate. I don't
Yeah.
believe so.
Well, my understanding is a free download from a free day would be different than a KU download,
Yes.
but a book would have to be in KU for it to be a free. Now, I actually don't know off the top of my head.
I don't
How about
either.
that?
That's interesting. And the only I see lots of people making money back from running a free pay. Like they'll say, I put it on free download day, and then I made $180 in page reads. So I'm inclined to believe that you get paid whether it's a 0 download or not. But I cannot answer that definitively.
I
Um,
could see maybe if the customer isn't in Kindle Unlimited. If the customer's not in Kindle Unlimited, that might not count towards page reads, but I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll look into that one. Great question. Um, Either way, what I can tell you is that you will get other pre-orders on your books and you will get reviews. So some reviews are to me as valuable as, you know, a a trillionth of a penny on a page read. So, okay. We're talking about free download days, not just through Kindle Unlimited when the book is actually free and you can go in and buy the book for $0 and not get it through KU. But listen, y'all, here's the thing I want to tell you. And this you everybody has to be savvy on this as an author, is that things change overnight. Over tomorrow you could walk into your Kindle dashboard and everything might look different. And you just never know when that's going to happen. So always know, to keep up on how things are changing. And we try as industry experts, we try to keep up on the latest and greatest too. But whether you're getting paid for page reads or not doesn't really matter in this scenario. It's that you're getting a ton of people downloading your book who will hopefully buy your other books, who will hopefully leave a review, who will hopefully share it with other people. If they're on Kindle and they have their Goodreads connected, they add it to their shelf. And there's just a lot of positive things that can come down the line from doing some of these activities. Let's see here. We're probably
And
not going to be able to get through all of these. Do you see a really
yeah,
good
what's
question?
your time frame here?
I
We
can
can
I can answer a few more questions. I'm not in a rush.
yeah, we were just kind of rapid fire
Yeah, I'll try to
some
be
of
more.
these. So heard book reviews by family isn't allowed. I was wondering the same for friends. They generally don't want close friends and family, but technically friends isn't really an issue. But what can happen is Amazon seems to track, are you friends with the person on Facebook? Are you in the same groups and stuff? They don't actually reveal how they do that, but there seems to be, some issue with that. I've left reviews for friends' books, and it's gone through fine. That said, you can always have them send you a review via email, and you can put it in the editorial review section.
There we go.
Okay, what do you recommend for authors who write in more than one genre? That's pretty vague because I think that recommend could be a lot of different things, but what we've covered here today talked about that. I'll just say that if you're writing in more than one genre, have separate you're probably going to have separate pin names unless they're very closely related. But that's such a broad question.
I
Anything
have a
else you want to
lot
say?
of resources on that if you want to reach out to me specifically. So yeah, that would be a long answer. Excuse me.
Yeah, we kind of covered different sites for stacking for book promotions, relaunching. Do you recommend doing a new Amazon listing or building off the listing I already have?
With relaunching, do you recommend doing a new Amazon listing or building off the listing I already have? I'm assuming you're asking, should you publish a new edition of the book? What I would tell you is if you have changed more than 10% of the content in the book, so if it's enough that if somebody was reading the next version of the event of the book, there's a new chapter or storyline changes or anything like that, then you should relaunch as a second edition. If you haven't made significant changes, maybe you've just done a copy edit that were in, you found a bunch of spelling mistakes or whatever. You can do a new cover with the same ISBN and not have to relaunch a completely different book. There are some things that you cannot change. You cannot change key metadata, like you cannot change the ISBN, the format, the trim size, or the paper, whether it's cream or white paper. So as long as you're not changing any of those things, maybe you're just giving it a fun new cover. It depends on what you're doing with it. You can do just do, spruce it up a little bit and do a bunch of activity toward that page, or you could decide to create a new edition of it, and that just depends on. I don't like to do that unless it's massive changes because you don't want to lose the reviews that went with your first book. But if it needs a full rewrite, then you don't want to be associated with a bunch of bad reviews from people saying, "Oh my gosh, there were so many errors." So in that case, I would do a new one.
All
So
right,
like
and
with
then
everything else, it depends.
yeah, and is there an average sum for the whole marketing range?
Uh,
I'm
Teresa,
guessing that's
that's
a budget. I'm not quite clear on the question, like an average budget.
yeah, I mean, it's really going to vary based on how much energy and efforts you're putting in. If you're doing, I mean, again, I would say if I would say most authors that we work with, because we're helping them launch and they're investing more money, spend between $1,000 to $5,000 in their marketing and launch. Other people spend way more, and other people don't spend any.
All right, and then I think I heard free downloads add to a book's ranking in Amazon algorithm. Would it still be better if you to have your ebook be free at least a few weeks after your book launch, since your audience can buy your book during the first week?
Lots of different strategies on how to do that. Depends on how many books you have, as to whether you put it free on launch week or free later on down the road. I like to do free later on down the road, but there are other people who want the first week to be free and discounted. How do you normally do yours, Derek?
If I'm doing a free one, I'll usually go free first to get momentum and add it to the reviews, and then do like a discount for a period of time, and then go to regular price.
There you go.
And then we talked about free book sites. Yeah, the Readsy list also organizes by tier one, tier two. So I recommend looking at the top tier ones. Those are the most popular and kind of working your way down. If one doesn't have a business personal site, are the books promoted as seed launch only via social medias, such as videos, QR, target audience groups? Not totally clear on that question.
I think you're saying instead of sending people to your website to buy it, you just send it to the third party sites, is what I'm understanding from that. I'm not sure though either.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But if you don't have a website, I'd get one made, even just a basic website
Hmm.
up and running, especially for building your email list. You're going to want to have something there. Um, but I'm going to just kind of see things that focus more on book launches. Um, Please explain quick launch. That could be a whole thing. Is there anything you want to elaborate on that? Uh,
It's just if you're literally like you finish the book and you launch it within a short period after actually getting the book all ready to go, you're not spending a lot of time doing a lot of marketing activities. You may not be building a big launch team. You just like you finish the book and you launch it as quickly as you can.
all right, then you recommend NetGalley for full 3 months and to finish before launch or run mostly before launch and a bit after launch.
I generally do 3 months prior to launch.
Okay, what do you think about launching your ebook on Kindle to take advantage of Kindle Unlimited and the print book via Ingram Spark?
Launching your ebook on Kindle. Yes. Yes. So I do both of those things. I always put our print books on natively on Amazon and through Ingram Spark for a variety of reasons. And our ebooks we almost do exclusively through Kindle Unlimited on Amazon. There are a few exceptions to that, but for that, that's what we do for the most part.
Okay, we got some thank yous and stuff. Again, I'm just going to focus on anything that's book launch related because you just got a few more minutes here. Let's say you reduce your price during the first 3 weeks. Do Book Siren readers need to buy your book in order to leave a review, or will that review unverified and not count towards your star count?
So yes, in general, anybody as I mean, there's caveats here, right? If somebody has to have bought something on Amazon, they have to have reviewed something in the past. But as long as they meet Amazon's minimum requirements for leaving a review, anybody, whether they've bought your book through Amazon or not, can leave a review. But correct, if they have purchased the book, then it will show a verified purchase versus unverified. To be quite honest with you, when you get into the levels of having a lot of reviews, they're going to be mixed, verified, unverified. I'm not sure it makes that much of a difference. And with the exception of if you only have unverified reviews, then that's going to be a problem because they want to see, you want people that are actually buying the book and leaving reviews. But beyond that, I don't know. Have you seen much of a, they can definitely leave their reviews as long as they meet Amazon's criteria. How that unverified versus verified actually impacts us, I'm really not sure.
Yeah, I've never really worried too much about whether it's verified or unverified. I just want the review there.
Exactly.
And then does the reader need to read the whole book in order to leave an honest review?
Well, if you're leaving an honest review and you DNF a book, when you can only make it through 5 pages and you're like, this is the worst garbage I've ever read in my entire life, then no, you don't have to read the whole book to leave a review. But in the hopes that that's not the kind of reviews we are getting, I mean, ideally, you want people to read the whole book so that they can leave a really, a review that makes sense because if you don't read the whole book, how can you review it? However, plenty of people can skim a book, can read enough so that they get a good feeling for it. I mean, especially on like nonfiction books that are educational books in nature, like say I want to learn how to code an ebook. I don't have to read every sentence of that book to understand whether it was a good book for me or not.
Yeah, another sort of it depends sort of thing. If you're halfway through a book and you couldn't put it down because it's so good, a reviewer could say, "Hey, I'm only halfway through the book and I'm hooked in or whatever." For nonfiction, it's a little easier to be like, I was really interested in what they had to say in chapter 7, so I just skipped to that and I read it and it's changed my life or whatever. Like so, generally, I mean, I like if someone reads the whole book, or at least the majority, enough to leave a substantial review. But that's again, it's sort of it depends thing. All right.
There's
Anything else you want to cover, Alexa?
No, I would quickly, yeah, I mean, AI, I don't know if you saw the AI one, but like we use a lot of tools for marketing for AI. I'll use AI to help me in a pinch on maybe marketing descriptions and things like that. I don't use AI to write my books, but that's a very long conversation. So,
Yeah, I think it's a great
um,
question, but so many of these questions are like, okay, that one question we could spend another hour on going through it. I love it though. I love the engagement. I love all the questions, and
yeah,
really
great
appreciate you
questions.
taking your time here, Alexa, to go through all of this. If we went through kind of quickly, it's again interest of time, and also because you can go back. The replay is going to be sent out. You can
Yep,
review that. Definitely, as you see, there's a lot of details here, so you can review that. You have Alexa's course, which is the link is in the chat. And once again, I remind you, you pick that up, then you can send me your receipt, and I'll give you that special bonus training. It might not be immediate. I might be waiting to gather the different receipts. So please allow 1 to 2 weeks for delivery of that bonus. I will keep track of who's got it, and then be sending out that bonus. And with that, I saw lots of great comments coming in. Excellent presentation, great information. As always, Alexa, you rock. You've delivered so much great information here. So I want to thank you, Alexa, and thank each of you for showing up, for participating, and asking your questions and engaging. It really gives us a lot of great things to go off of when you're asking your questions and participating. And with that, Alexa, I'll pass it off to you for any final comments.
Thank you. I guess the last thing I just want to say is like there is no such thing as an overnight success, right? Everybody who has just blown up and done anything huge got there by trial and error, by improving what they've done, by learning the systems, by doing the things. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed by all of this, if you're feeling behind, just start where you are today and start taking the small, consistent actions that will get you to where you need to be. But at the end of the day, if it's stopping you from writing your book, go write your book, because you can't market something that's not been written, and the rest of it you can figure out later. But marketing can and should be fun. If you're dreading it, then you're probably doing the wrong things, or maybe need just some help doing those things in a way that's better. But great resource in Derek, and so many wonderful things offered there. But just do the work and find ways to make that work fun, and it will get easier and easier and easier and easier and easier as you go. So thanks. I love marketing. I love stats. I love digging into these things and why they work and why they don't work. And if anybody has some case study stuff that they want to send me, like, hey, I did this, you should tell people about this, send it to me, because I love to have more data like that in our presentations. And yes, there will be a recording, and I will send it out to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Wishing you each the best. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.